I'm Sandra Laurie,
And I'm Warner Laurie.
and we are the owners of WL Costa Properties, which is a real estate agency based in Benalmadena on the Costa del Sol. So we relocated to Spain in 2016 with two kids in tow, two small babies. Looking back, I think we were mad, but the reality is we would do it again and again. As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm originally from Ireland, Southern Ireland. I'm from a small town called Clonmel in County Tipperary, which is in South East Ireland. So the one joke I get asked a lot is, God, you're a long way from home, because the song It's a Long Way from Tipperary. And I am a long way from home, but I love living here and I would choose to come here again and again. So before we moved here in 2016, I had quite a senior corporate job. I was a senior director for a large telecommunications company. I also practiced HR, had a HR degree. And I was very lucky that when I came to Spain in 2016, I immediately got employment in the line of work that I was in before. I became a managing director for a large international company based here in Benalmadena. And I had a high-flying career of traveling around the Nordics and working with 13 different nationalities at once. And I was really, really, truly blessed and very grateful that I was actually able to build my career in Spain up to that sea level, probably accelerate my career in Spain faster than I would have been able to do in Ireland, which goes a little bit against the grain and some of the myths that you hear over here, that it's hard to find employment and build a serious career in Spain. So I think when I look at my own journey and my own story, our superpower is the fact that we're able to support families to do exactly what we did, help them build a life, integrate into a new country, settle with their family, but we're also able to support them with some of the soft skills stuff around, employment, your business, ensuring that they find the right location for them. And I love the fact that I'm also able to support the families with some of the emotions and the mindset challenges that can also come with making that big move. Because let's say it fairly, the move is not just packing your suitcase and moving. There's a lot of intangible stuff that goes with the move, a lot of stuff on the inside that you don't see, some insecurities around, will my family fit in? Are we making the right decision? Will I get homesick? Will I be able to build a career like I built back home? Will I be able to find friends like I did back home? And my answer is you can, but you need to be able to put in the work. If you're sitting there with 1 foot at home, 1 foot here, and you have a plan B, well, it isn't going to work for you. You need to go all in. So I was very lucky that I was able to build a very successful career here in Spain. And then 2 years ago, made a decision with my husband, Warner, to decide to move away from that career and go out and support our business more together, because our business was growing successfully and we felt between our combined skill sets that we could really make a go of working
Yeah, I know.
together.
So I'm Warner Laurie. I'm the director of WL Costa Properties. As you can hear from my accent, I'm Scottish. I'm traditionally from Glasgow. My love affair started in Spain early 2000, where my family upsticks from Glasgow and moved to the Costa del Sol. So it was a massive change, but it was a massive eye-opener from being in Glasgow one day to actually being in the Costa del Sol the other day. And over the last come 3 or 4 years, I started really, really understanding, about the Costa del lifestyle and why people would come here to buy properties or buy holiday homes. So I really started to get into working in the real estate market. And right at that time, the real estate market was booming because obviously, just before the crash in 2008, the market was booming. Everybody was happy. Everybody was making money. So I really got the bug for that. And then what happened then when I had my experience in Spain, I decided to try other markets. So I left Spain. I went back to the UK. I worked selling properties in the UK for a couple of years. And then eventually I got the opportunity to move to Dubai. Uh, that was just mind blowing because, I was in Dubai early 2009, and it was just what they were building in that places. So I was really interested in working in that market as well. So stayed in Dubai. I was working in real estate in Dubai for about a year, and then I got really homesick because now I classify because I'd lived more in the Costa del Sol than Dubai. I decided to come back to Spain. And I came back to Spain about August 2009. And in September, I met my wife, Sandra.
I think, yeah, that's really interesting about you. You kind of have that international real estate experience, which is great when we're talking to our customers. So we met in 2008. We were actually set up by Warner's mum. I
An
didn't
arranged marriage.
I didn't like him very much at first, but eventually he grew on me. It's fair to say I couldn't really understand his accent, so there was a lot of smiling and nodding, but didn't really understand what I was agreeing to or what I was smiling and nodding at. But it it found me with a ring on my finger about a year or so later.
Yeah.
But we got married in 2011, and we based ourselves in Ireland, where we had our two kids. And around the time of my 30th birthday, we had come to Benalmadena on a holiday. And we really started to evaluate our life at that point. And we really started to explore, could we make Spain our permanent home? When we came back for my 30th birthday, we were socializing a lot with families that were living here. And it really ignited something in us, really made us evaluate our life in Ireland, which was a lot of rain, very dismal, weather conditions. And we started to get that voice inside us going, there must be more to life.
And the health conditions for Oliver, he
Yeah.
had really bad eczema and asthma. And where we lived in Ireland was a village, it was
A valley.
a valley. So there wasn't a lot of air. So we were always, the rat race, they were always the first into the creche, the last to be picked up. The health wasn't good. So we kind of just evaluated it and said, there must be more to life than this.
Are you crying?
I'm passionate about it.
I think no, it's true. When we look back to that phase in our life, our son's health was really bad, and Ireland was just not optimal conditions for him. And then when we made the decision to move to Spain and followed that voice going, yeah, you can do this, it was like all of the pieces of the puzzle just fit really, really quickly. And moving him here and our daughter, who was a small baby at the time,
yeah,
within a very short period of time, seeing the change in him from a health perspective, but also because of his conditions, he was quite introverted. And then the lifestyle here, within a very short period of time, we saw a very different child. So I think that's the emotion part, because we never questioned at the start, was it the right decision when the days were tough, because we could see the development of our kids and how much their life was changing compared to what they had back in Ireland, where childcare was a challenge. Nearly had to rob a bank to put the kids into childcare. And it just came to that point really for us, didn't it, in terms of one of us was going to have to give up our career to be able to sustain the childcare costs. And we quickly were able to assess with Spain that Spain really, it felt for us anyway, that it was more structured for families to be able to engage in the workplace and continue their career with the different mechanisms that were in place. So for us, we just immediately felt relief when we made the move.
Yeah, and the way the Spanish system works is they look after the children. So the children basically start school at free here. So that gives the opportunity for people to go out and work, with that. And then Abigail went into, I think I cried when Abigail left the guarderia, the nursery, because it was just perfect. She had a little uniform and they'd done her hair every day. It was collecting it. So it was totally like, wow.
Night and day.
we've arrived. I felt like the Pope going to kiss the ground when I arrived in Malaga.
So we made the big move, packed up the suitcases in 2016, literally came, 2 kids in tow, all of our belongings. And I think the initial worries from my point of view as a mum at the beginning were the identification of the right schools and making sure that the kids were in the right environment. Those concerns were initially eradicated. They were gone because I have never come across the warmth and the love that my kids were shown as they started to integrate into their early education journey over here. Spanish people are so warm, you know, they're kissing and they're cuddling, and the kids had like chubby cheeks. So there was lots of kisses and love shown that I had never experienced in a childcare environment where I'd come from. I'm not to say that they didn't love the kids and it wasn't a great environment. It was, but it was just different here. Everything was family centric. Everything revolved around the children and making sure that they were happy. So any concerns I had at the beginning around the kids being looked after, cared for as a foreigner, integrating, they were quickly blown away. Then, you know, my second concern was really then around my own employment. So I had started my employment search before we had come over. But again, that was immediately blown away because not only was I offered one position with a very serious, reputable international company, I was offered two. So I had a choice up front from the beginning because I was expecting the worry and the concern of you can't build a career in Spain. So I was coming into the environment with that firmly ingrained in my head. So I was pleasantly surprised. At that point, 2016, Malaga had started to position itself as a serious hub for tech businesses. We started to see the emergence and the arrival of new careers coming into Spain. And my timing and arrival in Spain timed perfectly with that. I think for me, a genuine worry was I didn't speak the language. Okay, so I had a lot of imposter syndrome at that time starting that job because even though the business language was English, there was a lot of discussions happening in Spanish around me that I just didn't understand. And I often got in my own head with that. So I think a piece of advice for people would be start learning the language before you come here because it will help you feel confident as you start to integrate. I think that insecurity then carried over into my ability to connect with friends and really integrate. So at the start, I found myself stepping back, not really going all in when it came to building Spanish friendships because I was concerned that I couldn't get past sentence number 10 in the discussion and it made me feel really insecure. I also then tended to hide at the kids' parties because I just didn't want the mums to be asking me questions that I couldn't interact with. So I would say that was hard. And I definitely held myself back, looking back on reflection, because in reality, people don't care what's going on inside your head. They don't have the time to think about it. They're more concerned what's going on in their head. But I did hold myself back with that. And I talk very openly to our own clients about that. Practically, start to learn the language before you come over because it'll help you with your own confidence and you won't be like me sitting scared, sweating at the corner of the kids' party. You know, please only ask me what I did last weekend. Don't ask me about what's happening in the newspaper today because I can't answer you. So that was a very real feeling for me. But Warner didn't, because I think men and women are different, you know, psychologically. You didn't have that confidence block. You just jumped in and flourished. And I was so jealous of you. I was so jealous of the fact
I was like, yo, this is my wife, and I'm going, where's she go?
Gone, hiding.
She's gone. She's like, when obviously I came to Spain when I was early, and you know I'd done a couple of courses, and then I started to have Spanish friends, so I learned street Spanish. But I learned from early on that as long as you try, you know, they'll kind of finish the sentence for you, you know. And the kids, they still to this day you go, Dad, you're Spanish, and I was like, see those training shoes you've got on your feet? That's your dad's Spanish, you know. So it doesn't have to be perfect, you know. And most of the Spanish people over here will speak English a little. That's what you always get a little. But at the end of the day, you know, if you try, they're very receptive. And don't be like Sandra and hide in the toilet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think another valid concern that I had at the time was just really making sure that we were choosing the right neighborhood to live in. And I also see that a lot with our clients, and that's very important. Now, we made the decision in our first year to rent because we really wanted to test the concept of where we were choosing to live and base ourselves. But then when we bought a year later, we were really, really clear that we were buying in the right location, because we say this to our clients all the time.
Yeah.
Not doing your due diligence with your location, taking the time to really assess that's where you want to be. If you get that wrong, that's a very expensive mistake. So that was a valid concern up front that we experienced as well.
And one for me was that you know, you had got your job, and one of the things was that, you know, I got a job straight away as well, and we just didn't give each other the time to kind of settle in. So, you know, when I got the job in Marbella with a real estate company, you know, it didn't work because, you know, we were trying to move to another country, settle in the kids, you know, do everything and try and just go back into the rat race as well. So then I had to take a step and say, look, you settle yourself, and then, you know, gradually I'll sort myself out with the.
But that works
business.
then for the better, because then you went to a real estate agency in Benalmadena, learned the market upside down and inside out.
Yes.
And I guess that's where the magic happened and the seed was planted and the inspiration came for WL Costa Properties.
That was. I was working for a really reputable real estate in Benalmadena. You know, I was learning the tricks of the trade, as you say. We went on to a few different places in the sun. So I was learning all the time. So I worked for them for about a year. And then I decided, well, I'm listing the properties. I'm speaking to the buyers. I'm selling the properties, but I'm not getting the benefit of that. So we had a conversation, and boom, WL Costa Properties was born. Started off 2017 and got my first property. And wow, 7 years later, it's just, the business has absolutely grown.
So do you like working with me? What's it like working together?
Honestly, me and Sandra work as a team, you know.
Sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. We do work as a team. We're a good team, you know, because she's amazing. You know, in my eyes, she's amazing. But the things that she's not good at, I'm amazing. So we kind of just gel, but we're friends. We're friends, and yeah, we have arguments. Of course, we have arguments, but at the end of the day, it's we're all competing for the same. You know, make sure the family's okay, make sure we get money in our pockets, and make sure that we're enjoying the lifestyle. That's what it's all about.
He's crying again. So yeah, look, Warner's right. We work really well together. We complement each other very well. We both have completely different skill sets. So, and they complement each other great. And people always say to me, "Oh my God, how can you work with your husband? Like, are you absolutely insane?" No, I think that the secret to this is he just shuts up and listens to me. But no, honestly, on a serious note, we work great together. We have the same values, and we make it work. And I wouldn't look. It's not all roses in the garden. We get our days where I hate you, and
of course
I want to
go back to your corporate career.
But Warner knows. I've seen Warner referred to as the king of Benalmadena property on our socials. But the real trick is he's not the king of the house, and that's what makes it work.
I was just going to order a crown there, so just with my crown.
But I think in all seriousness, when it comes to buying your property in Spain, any real estate agent can support you with buying a property. That's a transaction. Anybody out there is going to be capable of supporting you with that. That's fair to say. But not every real estate agent is going to be able to support you through your actual journey. We've walked the walk. We know exactly what you're experiencing. We know the anxieties, the complexities. We're able to preempt some of the challenges that you may have. We know that if you're making the move permanently, that, you know, after all the erasmus and the initial move is over, you're probably going to suffer with about a homesickness. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you've made the wrong move. It probably means that you just need to go back home for a weekend and remind yourself of why you made the move, right? Because we get it. We're able to hold your hand in a way that other real estate can't, because we know the intangible stuff. We know what's happening on the inside. We know the anxiety as parents that you may be feeling when your kid starts school with a foreign language that they've never spoken before in their life on the first day. And we know the pride that you're going to take when you actually sit back and observe them getting their first Spanish school report, because they've taken the full school year in a different language. And we know that you're just going to cry with pride and emotion. We get it, okay? So
We would have loved a Warner and Sandra when we were relocating to 2016, because there were so many questions and we didn't have the answers. All we had was a dream to come to Spain, have a better lifestyle of the family, and then we take it from there.
that deep-rooted knowing that there was a better life out there. And people say to us all the time, my goodness, you were so brave to do what you did. Yeah, looking back, we probably were. But what we didn't do was we didn't ignore our dream. And we knew that there was a better option to build a better life out there.
Yeah,
and we want to help others to do the same.
Absolutely, and we trusted each other, and we know that you had amazing skills, I had amazing skills, and if we put them together, then we didn't know what it would happen, but we knew that we would be able to live comfortably in Spain.
So what would you do differently?
I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't do anything differently, because what we learned on our journey has taught us how not to do it going forward.
For me, I would have made the move sooner. And I say this to people time and time again. What are you waiting for? What are you sitting on the fence for? Next year, that property that you're looking at will be more expensive, and you're going to kick yourself that you didn't make the move in 2025. Stop waiting. Do it. The one thing that we don't have a guarantee of is tomorrow or next year. Do it now. And that's what I wished I would have done. Make those moves sooner. Start taking those steps now. Stop waiting.
Well, when we were thinking about coming to Spain and Ireland, it was really about 6 months conversation. Could we do it? Would we do it? Would we get employment? Would the kids settle in different schools and all that? And sometimes you just got to stop the noise.
Yeah, cut through the crap.
Yeah, and just go with your heart.
Yeah, just, that move to Spain feels like a massive big elephant, but you can't eat that elephant all at once. So you got to slice it down. You've got to believe in yourself that you can do it, and just take things step by step and day by day. Cut through the shit, cut through the noise in your head, cut through the crap, and just believe in yourself and do it.
That's it. Yeah, 100% agreed.